And now a new item on the programme. If you don't have a chance to read every single paper, it's something to which I'm sentenced. I begin at 4:30. I read them all on your behalf, lovely listener, but we don't expect you to do the same. What a slog. So therefore, we have instead a paper review for you. And the first one ever, this is an historic moment, comes courtesy of Paul Scully, the Conservative MP for Sutton and Cheam, who joins me in the studio. Hello, good morning.
Morning, Vanessa.
Thank you so much for coming in. Let's kick off with the front pages. It's Brexit all the way, isn't it?
It certainly is. There's a whole wide variety of interpretation about what's going to happen this afternoon and whether the Tories in turmoil, which as you would expect I disagree with. But I found on the Financial Times, it says May on brink of Brexit launch as rebel MPs accept likely defeat. And then in the Telegraph, it goes into a little bit more detail. And Boris Johnson has been saying Britain would be perfectly OK with no Brexit deal, says Boris, because that's the focus of one of the amendments today. So
what about the Tory rebels? I mean, you're a Tory yourself. You're not thinking of rebelling.
Absolutely not.
You're very keen on the fastest and briskest possible Brexit, aren't you?
Well, what I'm actually keen on is the fastest way to just actually start the negotiations, because I just worry that at the moment where there's a lot of EU citizens, which are the subject of one of the amendments, I think we need to give them the surety by just cracking on and stopping the posturing and getting on with the negotiations.
And what sort of surety? You mean you want to say to them, yes, you can stay?
Absolutely. I think it needs to be top priority. And one of my main concerns actually about it all is less to do with the negotiations with Brussels. It's when we actually get that deal to make sure that the process is as simple as can be for them to actually say, I've been here for X amount of time, now can I stay?
Do you think we've got much to put on the table? I mean, are we the givers or the takers in this deal?
No, I think it's equal. I think if we don't get a deal, both can lose out. If we do get a deal, a bespoke deal, I think both the EU and the UK can succeed.
All right. Do you disagree with any of the interpretations of Brexit on any of the front pages? You're making a great play with ruffling your pages there. That is. There you are. That's the sound effects. We have to do that from the sound effect department at Past Expense.
Yes, because I think there's a certain degree of politicisation about it. In terms of are we in turmoil about it? This is a complex subject. We've got to go through a lot of detail in this. And one of the things that struck me over the last couple of years of being an MP is that I vote in what's in front of me in the amendments. There's a lot of interpretation that's giving people a false impression of what we're actually voting on.
So every possibility, you've got a very long day today, isn't there? You may still be there at 10 o'clock tonight in the House, is that right?
We could do it depends if it goes back and forth, and I think that may be on another day because we've still got the budget speeches to get through as well. So we're still debating on the budget as well. But some people
will say, how weird, afterwards. Why don't you debate the budget first?
Well, to be honest, we'll be doing it before and afterwards because we've been debating it since Wednesday, and then the votes on the budget will come tomorrow night.
And what's the state of play on self-employed and national insurance?
Well, I've been self-employed for 20 years before I was elected, so it's something that it's the detail of that, but I was really concerned with the way it was announced. I don't think we did it particularly well, frankly, I suspect it will be a position that Theresa May's already suggested that she's going to take a pause. People might think it's
the pasty tax all over again, announce it in the budget, then be very embarrassed, and then have to backtrack on it. Not the best way of going about things.
If we can stay back and take a bit of reflection, then I think that won't be a bad thing.
All right, now there's another interesting story that you have chosen. This is front page of The Guardian, and it's Mari Black, the youngest MP for 350 years, and what she has to say.
Yeah, well, again, when we're talking about Brexit, when we're talking about all these things, I think people have started to look at Parliament and just reflect on the relevance of it, on the traditions of it, and these kind of things. And Mari Black has been saying that it's been nearly 2 years and I still hate this place. Which is slightly because it's 2 years. It's been 2 years for me, and I really enjoy it.
Yes, I mean the headline is Westminster. It's old, defunct, a waste of time. I hate the place.
Yeah, well, exactly. Well, it certainly is old.
Yeah.
It's certainly not defunct, and I don't hate the place. I can actually understand the fact that because she goes on about the fact that she's got to come up and down every week.
Yes,
travelling from Scotland must be an absolute nightmare. I mean, just being a South London MP, it plays havoc on your work-life balance.
But just from South London, really?
Was work balance because I have to commute, so it's all like
South London.
Well, I tend to get back home sort of like midnight most nights, and I work over weekends and things like that. So it's but I'm not. Okay, I'm certainly not complaining.
On the other hand, she knew what the job description was, didn't she, when she took the gig?
Which is why I certainly don't complain.
Right. But I mean, we keep hearing that it's falling down and it's going to cost umpteen billions to repair it. It sounds as if she'd like the whole thing to be razed to the ground and having a porter cabin instead.
The building's certainly falling down, but I certainly don't think the procedures necessarily are.
great. What about Meet the Lords?
Well, yeah. Again, this is the other side of the building. We've there's been a lot of focus on the Lords because of the Brexit debate at the moment, and the Meet the Lords program is back on BBC Two, and there's concern because Baroness de Souza took it upon herself when she was Speaker to look at the people that were claiming £300 a day allowance and whether they were actually turning up and what sort of contribution they were making in the Lords. But she pulled it for fear of naming and shaming people.
So did she just decide to do this of her own free will without anyone asking her to?
As far as I understand, she sort of looked it upon herself to do this.
And now she's decided to bin it because it would be embarrassing.
Maybe not do it, exactly.
Isn't that even more embarrassing?
Yeah, frankly,
it's quite embarrassing, the whole thing all round, isn't it? Really.
Well, it's not great, but I think that's for House of Lords review has been going on for years, frankly.
And it's called Meet the Lords. Do you ever meet any? I mean, you're there in the Commons. Do you meet many Lords?
I do every now and again. I mean, because they do other work apart from sitting in the chamber. They do a lot of work on parliamentary groups with special interests and these sort of things. Mm-hmm. I'm a chairman of the Burma parliamentary group, and Baroness Kinnock is on there, Baroness Nye as well. So there's a lot of people that do work around their specialisms.
Now, another story that we can't avoid today is the story of rail strikes. This is RMT strikes spreading to other parts of the country. Now, your particular constituents have been very hard hit by this, haven't they?
Oh, absolutely. And it's something that, yes, as you say, it's starting to spread to Northern and Mersey Rail network. And this is the RMT, so these are the people that look after the guards and the conductors. And it is a reminder that whilst we have got, hopefully, touch wood, get rid of the worst of the strikes, we've still got a huge job to do in South London to make sure that Southern Rail can actually get their act together in terms of breakdowns and lack of drivers and these kind of things.
Let me ask you something, because we struggle with this on the programme, and we do it in good heart, we really do, in good faith. What are the strikes about? What are they striking for? Boy, have I asked that question to every side of the I've asked the RMT, I've asked union leaders, I've asked Southern Rail, and we're still not sure what the answer really is.
Yeah, well,
what do you think they're striking about?
I mean, a lot of it from the RMT seems to be political. I mean, there was a quote from the independent watchdog Transport Focus about the new strikes, saying these industrial relations problems are being dumped on passengers who may have to cancel plans. And the guy from Northern Rail says our modernisation proposals are still in the early stages. Basically, it's they don't want their guards to be moved out of the guards area and have onboard supervisors. It's a really technical thing about whether they're safety trained or not, because they have to have quite long safety training. And effectively, the only difference is they can't put detonators on the railway line about a few hundred yards up from the train.
So you do understand it, at least
a little bit.
Well, that's what I think. That was a very noble effort in explaining.
You're very kind.
Others have quailed at the task because it's so difficult to understand. Thank you for that.
You have to become an expert when you commuter as
Hugely appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed. Shall we skip to Adam Faith? Now, Adam Faith, what do you want if you don't want money and all of that? What's he in the papers for today?
Well, there's a few of the newspapers have been covering the fact that the worry that Russia might start trying to hack in and mess around with our elections as well. And then sitting alongside that is a new book that's come out that's claiming that Adam Faith was approached by MI6 while he was having dinner at the Savoy to spy on Fidel Castro.
You see, the thing I would take issue with, he was never at the Savoy. He was always at Fortnum's. He used to use Fortnum and Mason's as his office.
Is that right?
And yes, he could be seen in the fountain, the restaurant, the fountain, Fortnum's Fountain in those days, every day holding court. And he used to have all his meetings there. I think he had a phone line there before mobile phones. So I bet he wasn't ever at the Savoy. He was always at Fortnum.
Well, fake news is older than we think then, is it? That's fantastic.
Well, thank you so much for coming in. It's been lovely to meet you. Paul Scully there, the Conservative MP for Sutton and Sheen. There will be all sorts of megastars of his ilk doing the paper review at 7:45 every morning, so don't miss that. That's all the stories that we don't necessarily cover on the programme, but we don't think you ought to miss out upon. Thank you very much indeed. Give our love to your constituents, and we'll be straight back with you, lovely listener, after the news, the travel and the weather at 8 o'clock.